What's going on, everybody? Make sure everybody can hear me. Um, put a one in the chat. Put a one in the chat if you're just happy to be here today. That's what you can do. Put a one in the chat if you're just happy to be here today. You could have been somewhere else, but you chose to be with us. You literally could have been somewhere else. Literally. Just saying. Making an observation. So. This week's been an interesting week. It's been nonstop chaos. Not in a, I mean, I guess in a good way, bad way, whatever. However you want to look at it. It's been a week. Let's say it that way. Um. So this talk or this show is probably gonna be a little different. I mean, it's gonna be information packed, but it's gonna be a part a little different from most. And when I say a little different from most, I want to say I'm centering this around uh Gen X, but it could apply to others. So Gen X talk, but it could apply to others. All right. So I got my stuff queued up. I'll get shout outs, and after I get this up, I had to take my headphones off for the videos. But let's see. Let's see who all here as well. Go back to my homepage. All right, so see who in the house. We got Aurora Rain. I'm assuming you are in Colorado. As Taylor, what's going on? Tawana, what's going on? Tanisha, how you doing? Mo Time, how you doing? D. Elner, JB, what up? Quantum, what's going on? The Real Jones and Somewhat Thoughtful, and our Stephen, thank you for checking in. Thank you for being here with us today. So, you say a 38-year-old millennial, so that's close. No, yeah, it's close. I mean, the talk you'll see once I get into it. I think it applies to everybody, but hey, I'm just really looking at it from a perspective of the things that I research, as well too. What's going on, Emika? How you doing? All right, so um what I want to bring up is a couple of things. So this week's talk, we're gonna talk about um AI. We're gonna talk about system design and IPOs and inheritance. Wild topic, but you'll see once we get into it, and it still relates all back to, hey, make your money in tech, invest it. What does that look like? And then also, what does it look like for you all that are millennials, that are um Gen X, or even younger generation? What does it look like for you to all start sparking up and having conversations with your family members or your guardians or your relatives or your parents or so forth, right? I don't think this gets talked about enough, but it should. I'm gonna pop off my headset. The video is cute. It's like what to do with an inheritance. So let me give a little background, so it's not just a blind, uh, just hit you blind with it. So of course, recently my mom passed away. One of our members of Women at Lineage, his mother passed away. He got some idea from my conversation, uh a candid conversation on my meetups and my lives, to talk um about his experience too. So it helped him with his experience. Shout out to the Cater. See you out there, bless Aries. So I'm only um I'm only looking from the perspective of or not even only, I'm sharing information from a perspective of someone who lost a parent and lost parents, let's say it that way, and you get an inheritance, and what do you do? And also for those that of you that should be prepping for um your kids and things that you can do to help your kids in the future, and those that are children of older parents, things and conversations that you should be having with your parents as you continue. Number one, off the rip, you should make sure everybody got a term life insurance policy, so forth and so on. That should be a thing. That should be a no brainer on that. Number two, we should also be making sure that everyone has an idea of what a will is or a trust. You should be having those conversations. You can do that now. There's nothing stopping you from having that conversation. Even if your parents or your siblings don't want to have the conversation or don't want to follow through and do the work, you do the work. You get, as I hate to say it this way, you get your shit together. Let's say it that from that perspective. You get your shit together. And me, thank you for upgrading to becoming a 300K earner. Bum, 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 bum. Hands up. Like the little dude. Hype me up. Hype me up. All right. Thank you for joining. But again, when it comes down to, having your these items in place, you don't want people trying to figure out what to do with you. Like, where should you go? I think one of the, and I had to have that conversation with my mom, and sadly enough, I think just give you because I see it vividly, clearly in my mind. My mom got sick. We had to call 911. The ambulance came and got her. When you're in that mode, like you just get ready to go, and you're like, okay, what am I supposed to do? Get the bag together, get in the car, follow behind the ambulance. You get taken into emergency room. You're sitting there. You like, you start thinking in your head, like one part of your head, you're like, oh, I hope they get better, and the other part of your head, what happens if she don't get better, and what do you got to do the as the child, or as the spouse, or as the granddaughter? What is it that you need to be? What is it that you need to make sure that's taken care of, right? So one of the big things, and this is coming from one of my mom's, like I said before, one of her friends was like, will my daughter be able to take care of my house while I'm in the hospital? I don't want to lose my house while I'm in the hospital. You think she'll be able to do it? And the last thing that people who are sick, the last thing they want to do, just I think I don't know if it's a black thing or if it's a parent thing or generational thing. The last thing they want to do is burden you. That's the first thing they say. I don't want to put you out. You got to go back to work. You got to go do those things. Don't lose your job because of me. Don't worry about me. Worry about yourself. I don't know what that is. I don't know if that's pride. I don't know if that's a independent thing, or just, hey, I or is it a, hey, I know things can be burdensome. I don't want to put you out of your thing, right? So, one thing that I did do with my mom was I did ask her, while she was there, and I know this sounds bleak or whatnot. I asked her where she wanted to be buried, and what colors did she want, and what did she want to have on, and so forth and so on. And my mom immediately knew what she wanted. It wasn't no, I had to think about it. I want to be buried here. I want to do this. I want that. I want this. I want resuscitate me. Don't let them not resuscitate me. I want to live, you know. I want to fight. And I was talking to somebody, and they was like, they resuscitated their mother 16 times. All the family members got upset because they kept resuscitating their mom, but it had to be a unified thing. She was like, "No, we want her to live." They resuscitated their mom 16 times. I didn't want that for my mom. I did it one, two, I think I did it 3 times. And I was it was going to go be the third time, and I was after that, I was like, nah, it's okay. We did what we could, right? And that is one of the hardest things you ever have to do is say you're in the position of controlling someone else's life to say whether they live or die. And this where all the whole situation with wills, with marriage, with on the paper napkin, on the back of the napkin, this is where all that comes into play. Especially when you're in the hospital and you are the next living heir if you're married. If you're a girlfriend and you don't have no paperwork, they don't care. If you're a boyfriend and you don't have no paperwork, they don't care. The next the actual family comes into play at that point, right? Again, you get that letter, you get that special my special friend on the obituary. And you might walk in with the family or not. It's always gonna be next to kin. Just want y'all to know that. So those that say, yeah, yeah, we've been in it. I don't see the reason for marriage. If you don't have no paperwork lined up, that's the reason for marriage. No one cares when you walk. Like my even though my mom was really close to my aunts, who are her nieces, really they're my cousins, but they're so close to age. I treat them like my aunts. They didn't have no say so. They didn't have no say so. They was like, where her daughter at? If her daughter ain't here, we ain't doing it. Right. So I have to leave instructions for everybody to make sure that everyone knew what to do when talking to the doctors. Right. So the same rules apply when it comes to property. The same rules applies when it comes to um, bank accounts. The same rules apply when it comes to just overall inheritance. So I'm bringing this up because a lot of you work, a lot of you walk around, a lot of you don't have a will, a lot of you don't have your own affairs in order. So I'm coming from a perspective of, hey, these things can happen to you. What are you gonna do about it, and how you gonna take care of it, right? Um, One of the big things is the inheritance, right? So what does that mean? Inheritance comes in multiple things. That means property. When I talk about property, I'm not just talking about a house. I'm talking about a land, a duplex, an apartment, or what have you. um Bank accounts, being beneficiary, like your bank account that you got right now, because everybody should have a checking account or at least a savings account. Do you have a beneficiary on that? If you was to walk out the door today and something happened to you, have you put a beneficiary on that? Because if you have not, that's going to go to probate court. So now you're going to have to spend money on probate. So let's talk about probate court. Probate court can come in many forms. With this, let's just be clear. Just because you have a will doesn't mean you skip probate court. A will take you to probate court. The trust won't, right? So you can have a will inside of a trust, right? So, with that being said, you all have to keep up with your bank accounts, your 401ks, your IRAs, your Roth 401ks, your stocks that you have, that Robinhood account that you got, that account that you have for um, that old 401k that you got that you haven't rolled over. That needs a beneficiary. That old IRA account, that old account that you had, um, that you didn't roll over, that may be still sitting there, needs a beneficiary. If not, that could possibly end up in probate court are lost in translation or what have you, right? So these are things that you all have to do right now. So everybody here, my assumption is you all have a checking account. Go put a beneficiary on it. My assumption is you all have a savings account. Go put a beneficiary on it. Why? Because when it's time to go to probate, those don't go. The last thing you need is to have, because your probate a probate lawyer can cost you anywhere from 3,000 to 7,000. It's what I saw, and maybe even more. Right? That's just for them to fill out some paperwork, to say, hey, on the behalf of blah 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 blah, we're gonna represent you. Now, some lawyers don't even, like, if it's uncontested, they're not even going to show up in court. And some lawyers will send you and say, like, if we got to go to court, we'll go. In my case, there's nothing to appear in court because I'm only child, so I don't have anyone to contest. But my family members could contest if they wanted to, but uh they're not in the immediate next of kin. So that'll be a hard sell in court. But with that being said, some of you have siblings, and if you and your sibling have not had that discussion, this where it makes it hard, right? So I have another friend of mine, um, who is an only child, but later on in life, her mom adopted 6 children. And the mom adopted 6 children, but she set each one of the children up uh, a a their own bank account, and each one of those children, and out of that in those bank accounts, are receiving. There's a minimum, I think. She opened up each one and she put a minimum of 100K in each one of those bank accounts for them to go to school, for them to go to get an account, and so forth, right? But those children have gotten older now. They were young, they've gotten older, and those children don't want to go to school, and they don't want to purchase a home or anything of that nature, right? So with that being said, the way it is written out, if those children don't use the money for school or to purchase a home, it goes back into the trust. The trust consumes it. Well, now one of the children, who's not her real sibling, wants to take her to court because they're like, well, I can go do something else with that money. Well, it strictly says that, you're supposed to do this with the money. So now they're fighting it. But the mom is still alive, but she is in a vegetative state. Like, she can blink her eyes and so forth, but she can't talk or whatnot. So now, as the daughter, she's having to sit down with attorneys of the estate to go over things that she's not even really true siblings with. And me and her had this long conversation. She was like, I think you're the only person that can understand me because we're both our only children dealing with an inheritance. And now they're contesting the trust that she had to take over and be executive of, but her father is still living, but he has dementia. So he be in and out. He don't be knowing what's going on. So I'm giving you these real life scenarios of things that can happen to you when it comes to inheritance and just life and so forth. Um there's so many different stories I could tell you, but they're all centered around um inheritance and dementia, like, and your healthcare power of attorney. Let's talk about that. If you guys or ladies have someone that you don't trust, don't make them your healthcare power of attorney. If you know you don't have a good relationship with that person and they not going to abide by the rules that you have set forth or that y'all have talked about or whatnot, you all should do should make sure you got somebody in your corner. And the other thing too is I'll say it from this perspective as a child. One of the big things is when you have to walk in and you got to talk to the doctors. And the doctors are like, I want to talk to you and only you. So you have to like this is like I think this is probably one of the biggest big girl put your big girl pantyhose moments that I probably ever had to face in my life was they was like we can give your mom a slow drip morphine right now, or we can send her to hospice care at home and then go from there. Or you can put her in hospice care and they can do it there. How would you like for us to proceed? And you have to sit there and you have to be like, wait a minute. I thought we was coming in here to get healthy. I thought we was coming in here to do X, Y, and Z. They were like, nah, you just need to make sure. And then sometimes they'll do it in front of the patient. So my mom, she was just like, we need to get all the affairs in order. So we had the notary come in, do the healthcare power attorney, do the power attorney for everything for all our affairs, so I could go do blah 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 blah. Run to the bank, give the bank this because once you get power of attorney, you gotta run to the bank. And once you run to the bank, it may take them a day or two or three to look over the power of attorney. You don't know if the person that's sitting in the hospital is still gonna be alive by the time they make their decision. You don't know if the person is still gonna be alive by the time you go to all these other places, right? These are real life things that no one ever talks about. So that's why I say go ahead and if you can get on their account for whatever parent or whatever, they could put you on the account. You could be beneficiary. Beneficiary, you don't get control of their stuff. Power of attorney, as long as that person is alive, that's how long that effective that power of attorney is. So some people, including myself, I was just like, "Well, just let my mom's as long as she got a pulse, I can go conduct business on a power of attorney." Well, here's the other side of that. The other side of that is you're racking up bills for insurance. So let's talk about that, and then we're really gonna get into the show. So the bills for insurance is, you got your healthcare insurance, and then you got your Social Security, and then you got Medicare. And Medicare comes in two parts: Medicare A and Medicare B. Medicare A comes and takes care of your medical bills, and then they'll run through United Health, Blue Cross, Blue Shield, whatever the case may be. They'll run through that. So, with that being said, you need to make sure that the people who are older have insurance, right? Now, somebody posted here, Purple Rain, you posted about whole life and term. Let's talk about that. All right. So, inside your whole life policy and inside your term life policy, you can set up additional riders. And those riders will allow you to dip into the death benefit that is owed to the beneficiary to help cover for medical expenses and living expenses, right? So those medical expenses that you're like, we don't have the money to cover, or we don't have because once you start going private care cares nothing about insurance. That's straight up money out your pocket. So you need to make sure you have some type of rider within your term policy or in your whole life policy, so that way you can dip into the death benefit to cover, hey, I need to cover the mortgage, or hey, I need to cover the medical bills that are coming in. And when you are talking about somebody with cancer, depending on the stage and the type of treatments they're getting, my mom, uh, depending on the hospital you go to, let's be clear, those bills for chemo are anywhere from 300,000 to 500,000. 300,000 to 500,000. And so you better hope that your insurance that you have will cover that. You still have Medicare. Now, when you start getting into Medicaid, Medicaid wants you broke. Let's be clear. You can't be over $10,000, which means that any property, any assets, any money that is there, you got to get rid of it. Not only do you have to get rid of it, it they can go back 5 years in Georgia, and then some other places, I think they go back 7, to see if you sold off any assets to someone, and then they can come after that person, which that asset that you have sold off, to recoup that money. So let's just be clear about that. Yeah. Yeah, anyone with a terminal illness, right? I'm just telling you stuff that people don't talk about. They're not saying, you know what I'm saying? Nobody preps you for this. Nobody, you just kind of learn on the fly, and you're like, oh, I didn't know all of this. So with the Medicare A should take care of your hospital stays, and that Medicare A, um, is not bounded by county or anything of that nature. So just want to put that out there, right? So there's Medicare A, and then there's Medicare B, and then there's Medicaid, and then there's Social Security, and then there's healthcare, and then there's whole life insurance, and then there's term life insurance, right? And then on the other foot, there's an annuity, right? All of that together is part of your wealth. All of that together is part of your way to protect assets, to protect heirs, to protect taxes, to protect all these other things. And I'm just giving you some insights that I think will help you. I don't know, you tell me, but I'm just putting it out there. Tawana said, absolutely. My first husband succumbed to esophageal and stomach cancer 17 years ago. I was 28 years old with a 3-year-old. We had huge bills, and Medicaid doesn't want you to have any money. Correct. Nothing over $10,000. Going into a nursing home. If you have to go into a nursing home, this happened to my mom. They walked in the room. I wasn't there. They walked in and told her, hey, you live at home by yourself. No one is going to be there to really take care of you. Um, if you're, for a person like you in your situation, we're going to need for you to sign over your house and all your money in your bank account and all your assets. And then we'll take you to a facility, and go from there. So basically, they wanted my mom to give up everything that she had worked for, and to put her in a nursing home. So when I walked in as they were talking, and my mom looked at me and she was like, "What are they talking about, a nursing home?" I was like, "I don't know, mom." I was like, You're not going to a nursing home." "Yeah, but they told me ain't nobody gonna be here for me. Nobody's gonna take care of me, and I gotta go to a nursing home." And I'm like, "Nah, we're not going to a nursing home. You good?" So that's one aspect. The other aspect of what they do is they say you're going to go to physical therapy. Okay. So you go to physical therapy, which is more like a physical therapy home. While you're in there, they still have the people come in from the nursing home to talk to you, to get you to go to the nursing home. So it's the first phase. So the physical therapy is like, hey, you're here. You're not gonna get the round the clock care that you normally get, but we're gonna make sure you're okay. But we're gonna make sure you get your hand movement and your walking movement and coordinations and stuff back together. And but in the meantime, in between time, they're still pushing, you should go to the nursing, you should go to the nursing home, you should go to the nursing home. Now, the other part of this is with physical therapy, you don't have to go to the home. They can do physical therapy at your house. And so the lady walked in and it was like, yeah, she going to the physical therapy home. I was like, no, she's not. She's going home today. And they all looked at me because they had the chair there. There was like the vans downstairs and everything. We're here to pick her up, and I was like, nah, she gonna come home. And the lady looked at me, and then my mom looked at me and she's like, yeah, I'm going home. That's my daughter. That's my daughter. Look, yeah. The car. I was like, the car's downstairs. I said, I think I saw you pulled up behind me. And she was like, yeah, I was here to pick her up. I was like, I don't know who told you she was going there, but mm, we're not doing that. And so they walked in. They was like, are you sure? I said, yeah. I was like, what she need to do? Work on squeezing the ball? What she need to do? Make sure she get up and walk and got circulation and getting foot massages. She got all of that at home. She got a foot massager at home. She got the ball to squeeze. We got stairs we can walk up and down. We got a whole I got a whole track laid out at home. She come home. That's it. So I'm just telling you, uh, if you all get somebody that goes into the hospital, make sure you got somebody there. To 24/7 when I say that, meaning y'all need to rotate schedules. Rotate somebody being there with your parent during the day and somebody being there with your parent during the night. If y'all gotta take a break, find somebody to take a break with them hours, rotate that out. I'm just telling you from experience, from my own experience. Luckily for me, I was here. I had a friend who was going by the hospital to see my mom every day and spending every day with my mom while I worked. And then when I got home, I was there with my mom. We rotate somebody there in the day, somebody there at night. So my mom didn't have that to worry about, and I was like, "Yep." My mom was like, "Did you pay all my bills?" I said, "Yeah, all your bills taken care of. You good?" And so when she got home, I showed her all her bills were taken care of, and got her a new refrigerator. And she was like, "Oh, that's pretty. I like it." She was excited to be at home. She was like, I'm finally at home. Because when you're in the hospital, they coming in every hour taking blood. They're coming in every hour taking something. So there's no sleep. There's no they were just letting you sleep. It's always an interruption. It's always an interruption. Yep, you can look at those exercises online. You sure can. And they can come to the house. The nurse can come to the house. You can have a nurse come by every week to the house. You can take temperatures at home. You can take blood pressure at home. Learn how to take blood pressure. Know what they mean. Um, my recommendation: just get a UTI kit. When they go to the bathroom, look at their pee. Look at how much you're giving them to drink. Look at how much coming out when you give them to. Look at how much food they're eating. Look at the food they're eating. You can do all of that. Now, I'm not saying everybody's going to be in position to do this. What I'm telling you is if you got the ability to do it, do it. Right? If you got the ability to do it, do it. Right? WK, yeah, it could be both. It could be a money grab and it could be a good thing, right? Um, there's just so many different things that's a money grab. Like, let's talk about oxygen. The oxygen kit is $20 a month. They deliver it. They got the whole little thing. They hook it up. But just imagine you got a person. The guy who came over, he delivered a walker, the oxygen and the oxygen tanks, right? So you got somebody that's delivering that stuff, right? Imagine he delivering all times of nights, right? They got a little medical building, they got all the supplies, and they deliver. So they just sign up with a hospital or sign up with someone, and all they do is just deliver the stuff. They show you how to use it, and then they out. You on your own, right? You get a 10-minute tutorial on how to hook up the oxygen, how to hook up the oxygen tank to travel with, the backpack oxygen to travel with, what you got to do, keep things cleaned out, so forth and so on, and keep it pushing. That's what you get. 10 minutes. And then you on your own. And hopefully don't none of that stuff fail on you. Hopefully the oxygen tank don't fail on you. Oh, and they show you how to clean it out too. And you got to be responsible for that. Right? So, healthcare is a big thing. You know, in-home healthcare is huge. I think it's probably one of the things that I may even look into outside of tech. Yep, yep. Healthcare exposed, and then check the credentials of the home health aide. You see that health aide that was stealing from the lady? I think she stole. See one. I think she had stole like $1 million or something like that. That's the other thing too, right? You get these nurses and stuff that come into the house. That's the other part. You're risking someone coming in that may be a thief. Someone coming in that may not have your best interest at heart, right? Because now you have to deal with somebody, even though that person may still be alive, they just going around taking their card, they swiping it. These people are in a vulnerable state. They want you to run them to the bank, or they may not be able to run to the bank, so they just give you the card and the number, and they trust you because nobody else is coming around. Nobody else is coming to check on them. Nobody else is coming to do anything, right? So now you got all this. You gotta and, and treating this person as an extension of yourself, right? They can't give medicine. You have to take the medicine and give it to them. Like you have to put it in the pill trays and give them the medicine and stuff like that. So for my mom, what I did was my plan was to do 5 days. So what I had planned to do was the home health aide would come in Sunday night, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'll be back Wednesday night, and be there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Do the pill tray for the whole time. Leave it there with my mom. My mom could do that. So she could administer her own medicine, take her own medicine. They just know, hey, you need to take Monday's medicine, so forth and so on. And then she would know like the food they cook. So I buy all the food and I prep the meals for the cook, and I had recipes and so forth. So doing all of that and traveling back and forth and working and calling. I couldn't My mom wouldn't FaceTime anymore. It would just be too much for her. So I would just call her. And she would see that I would call her, you could tell she'd be like, I'm tired, I don't really want to talk that much. When you on your way back here? Okay, well, I'll talk to you later, But she knew that I was gonna call her every 2 hours. That's Tameika right there. I'm calling you every 2 hours. What's going on? What you doing? Where you at? What's on? You hungry? You need something? What you need? Right? Just checking on her, right? Even in the hospital, right? She was like, I gotta keep my phone charged up because Tameika gonna call me. If Tameika don't call, if I don't answer my cell phone, she gonna call this the nursing phone. If she don't call the nursing phone, she gonna call the nursing station. They gonna come in here. So I gotta keep my cell phone charged because she gonna call everybody. And I will. And I will send somebody up there. And I will send the police. and and I did. and I will. You said don't even count on blood relatives, a family in this case. Oh, yeah, don't you think your blood relatives, all the people that say they love you, they care about you, they care about your parent or the or whoever's in the hospital and stuff like that, you probably get a hot 2 hours, if that, maybe four. I had a family member like, yeah, I came by and saw your mom. Like, how long did you stay? I just came in for 10 minutes. 10 minutes? What the heck? What you come all the way this for? Only to sit there for 10 minutes. What kind of mess is that? So, uh, read all the paperwork. Yes, right. Um, just trying to let you know from a different perspective. All right. So, with that being said, inheritance. All right. When it comes down to inheritance, people don't talk about the other side, is the tax implications on you as the heir, and things that need to be prepped before, um that your parents can do, or the person who owns it can do, for um making sure you don't have these big tax burdens, right? No one talks about that part, the tax burdens. We'll talk about that, right? All right, so let me take off my headset and then let me make this big, and then we'll get into this. I found this one, and I've looked at tons of videos, but I found this one to be as close to what I have experienced and what I have seen from others. So let me take my headset off. All right, I'm unmuted now, and now let's play. This one is oh, let me go back out so you can see where I got this from. This one is called America's Wealth Management Show. All right.
Here's something that I find interesting, and we've done a few programs on the Secure Act 2.0 in the person who has lived within their means, they've saved well, and they've invested well. The vast majority of their wealth is in one of two places. If you look at the IRA slash 401k and the value of the home, that's where almost all the wealth is concentrated. There's not a lot of wealth that is in a taxable account with a step up in basis, right? Most of the step up in basis is going to come in the form of real estate. Mm-hmm. So when the Secure Act 2.0 came out, what it basically did was said,
all right, so I'm gonna stop right there. Do y'all understand what he means when he says a step up in basis on real estate and a step up in basis on an account? I'm pretty sure you don't, because nobody never really talks about it. Some of you may know and some of you may not know. All right. So when they talk about a step up in basis, meaning you're in the inheritance, you're inheriting, especially in a 401k, IRA, TSP, 43B, or whatever. When they talk about a step up in basis, meaning that person who is who has passed on, you're gonna receive the benefits of what they had at that time. So if they were uh over 59 and a half, and they were pulling from their 401k, and you may be 52 or 46 or 35, you're going to get a step up in basis as if you were 59 and a half for that 401k, so forth and so on, right? A step up in basis, meaning like you get the step up and get the same benefits that they had. And I don't think most people understand that or know that, right? So I just want to point that out. Um the other part when he's talking about the real estate part is in certain counties, and maybe even it may be a state thing, but I think it's a county thing. At a certain age, you don't pay those property taxes, right? So, or you get a discount on your property tax. So you may get a step up in basis on that property because it's inherited to you, right? So those are little nuances that people don't talk about, right? So let me get a clear. I'm sure in the Investopedia has it. Step up in basis. Investopedia. Oh, yep. So let me do this, and then we'll get back into the video. Thank you. Somebody, I saw somebody said this is one of the best channels, or this the best channel, or something like this. Is the best channel on YouTube. Thank you, KS. I'm just pointing things out as you all collect assets, as you all start to venture out and do more things and so forth. So yeah, it does depend on the property as well. So I just want to point these things out that no one says to you, or have said to you or whatever, right? So let's go here. All right, so you see that a step up in basis is a tax provision that adjusts the cost basis of the inherited asset. Two key words there: inherited asset to its fair market value on the date of the previous owner's death. Right? So someone is passed on, you're getting a step up in basis on an inherited asset, right? All right. An inherited asset, right? The adjustment is important because the cost basis determines the taxes owed when the asset is sold. So say you sell, you say, hey, you know what? I'm never coming back here to Georgia. I'm never coming back here to Florida. I'm never coming back to New York. I'm gonna sell this property, right? So it said the adjustment is important because the cost basis determines the taxes owed when the asset is sold. The cost basis starts with the asset's purchase price plus any additional costs incurred for improvements or maintenance over time. Impact to the beneficiary, which is the important part. It's the reason why we're here. Is when the market value of the inherited asset is higher at the time of the owner's death than its original purchase, which is probably true for most people. Most people who have passed on or passing on, right? Probably purchased something 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. The price of that house, or that the house has increased. So you bought a house in 2014, that house was worth 100,000. It's not worth 100,000 today. It's probably worth more. So with that being said, you have what we call equity in that home, or equity on that property, right? But you go to sell it, right? Somebody passed away, it's inherited, and you go to sell it. Now what? It says, however, the value of the asset has has since decreased has decreased since the owner's purchase. The asset cost basis would step down instead of stepping up for the heirs, right? And this is where I go back to last week when I was talking about the land. Again, land, according to the IRS, doesn't depreciate unless there is something surrounding it that causes the depreciation, or something happening surrounding it that's going to cause the depreciation. But most of you that go out and buy a piece of land that's $5,000, just know that your land, depending on where you buy it now, will never go lower than $5,000. So in your head and in your mind, just know that the least that you can do, the least that you can make on that land is $5,000. That's the least, just on the land. That's why when people were talking about the situation in Hawaii, and even in Colorado, the year that I moved out there, people were selling it. They had lost all their homes. It burnt down, everything burnt down. Big, massive fire, right? Massive, massive fire. burned down a whole town, right? Burned down a whole little city. Those people were like, we're never going to rebuild, but they were told not to build out there in the first place, and the insurance wasn't going to cover them. So then people had to sell their land. They had to sell their land, and they were selling their land at just to get some money out of it, like for 330,000, right? Just to sell the land, right? So remember, you don't always have to go buy a house. I've said that all the time. You don't always have to go buy a house. You can always go buy the land and do something with it when you feel like it, as long as you pay the property taxes and you know what's going on around the area for that, right? And the IRS has a whole true definition of what land and land depreciation and appreciation. Go look it up on the IRS. I talked about it last week. If you want to know more about it, go check out last week's video where I talked about that, right? Yep, with those wildfires. Yep. Uh, it says in practice, most inherited assets after death are stepped up, not stepped down. This is because financial assets passed on to heirs are often long term holdings that grow in value over years. Now, I say this all the time: buy the land, hold it, buy the house, hold it. Your true value in that land and in that house, even in that brokerage account, is going to be the time spent. Now, you're not going to get you let's be clear. You all can go out there and play crypto all you want to. You can do that. A millionaires born, billionaires created, absolutely. But most of us, let's be clear, don't have $100,000 or $50,000 just to go throw it in crypto and just let it sit. And we can't let it sit for too long because we're looking at $50,000 in crypto right now, and I gotta wait for a year for that to be in. I ain't got that kind of you just don't have that kind of money. But if you may have 5,000 that you could play with and put in there, maybe even 1,000 that you like, you know what, leave that 1,000 in there and let crypto do what crypto gonna do. I'll check back in a year. Why I say a year? Because of the capital gains, right? Capital gains, right? Yep. So that's why I say a year. All right. So it says, I'll read it again. In practice, most inherited assets after death are stepped up, not stepped down. This is because financial assets passed on to heirs are often long-term holdings that grow in value over time. So remember, when you're buying a house, you're getting land and a house. Land and a house. All right. The step up in basis provision applies to various types of financial assets, including stocks, bonds, mutual funds, real estate, and tangible properties. Tangible properties, right? Does anybody know what a tangible property is? I'm going to click on it and tell you right here. Is number 3 right here. Straight from the IRS. All right. And I'll post this. I'll get this so y'all can read along at another time. Deacon pass this on to you. So let me get busy here. Let's make this bigger. All right, so look here. All right, so the name of this is basis of assets. Basis of assets. We may not get to our crypto today because I mean our AI today, because I think you guys kind of like this content a little better. I don't know. We'll see. But again, cost basis, stocks and bonds, real property, business assets, allocating basis. Here, adjusted basis increases two basis, decreases two basis, and basis other costs, property received for services, taxable exchanges, non-taxable exchanges, property transferred from a spouse, property received as a gift, inherited property, property changed to business or rental use, right? And then future developments they talk about here, right? So let's hop down here All right, so here they talk about useful terms you may want to see: travel, gift, and car expenses. Does anybody know how much you can gift one person without a taxable event right now? How much can you gift a person without it being a taxable event? You can look it up. I'll wait. I'll wait till you put it in there. All right, so we got here they got publication for travel and gift. These are just useful items you may want to see: travel, gift, and car expenses. Selling your home, taxable and non-taxable residential rental property, tax information for homeowner, installment sales, casualty, disasters, and theft, survivors, executors, and or executors and administrators, business use of your home, and how to depreciate property. And then they go on down here to start talking about stuff, right? But I just want you to have this information when we talk about a step up in basis as he said it. Now, when you, I'm gonna go back and replay it again, and now you're gonna have all these thoughts when I start talking about a step up in basis. Yes, the 14,000, right? 14,400. The lifetime gift, yes, is up to 13.7 million, right? 13.7 million. But in 1 year, you can go write someone a check for $12,000 and gift it to them, right? It could be a gift so they don't occur a taxable event there, right? So it doesn't occur as a taxable event. All right, so let's get back to my guy here. I'm gonna rewind this and then you'll now things will start to click for you. Oh, intangible, I think D put it in. Physical objects that have substance and can be touched, moved, and possessed. Gold, watches are assets. Like you, those that buy those Rolex watches, those Breitlings, even a car, that may be a classic, right? That could be inherited, could be. Imagine if you inherited a 1950 1950 Ford Mustang GT. Let's see, 1950. Let's see how much it is. I'll put it over here so we can do the search together. 1950 Ford GT value. All right, a 1950 Ford GT custom deluxe right here. Let's see what they got as a price. So right now, this one, this two-door coupe, this month it may be in bad shape. It's in good condition, 15,000. But imagine someone has souped this up. I guarantee you, you're not walking around finding these at 15. Not after they rebuilt them and put into them. I guarantee you that. Like, yeah, a top sale of 192. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing. Yeah, they see the dots all over the map, but a top sale of 192. So you got somebody that put some money into them, and they're sitting in there in a garage that's a classic. Yeah, good luck on one of these, and even the Ford GT, even the Ford GT. Let's go look at. We'll go look at Hemmings. Look at this. This Ford GT, this 2006, 415,000. That's a 2006 Ford GT, 2006, 399. 399,000. So imagine one of your uncles or car enthusiasts in the family or something like that got this sitting in the garage. It's in pristine shape. right? Imagine you got that sitting in your garage. Now, people always say, cars are a depreciating asset, right? Yeah. So, again, tangible assets could come in many forms. All right, let's go.
Here's something that I find interesting, and we've done a few programs on the Secure Act 2.0 in the person who has lived within their means, they've saved well, and they've invested well. The vast majority of their wealth is in one of two places. If you look at the IRA slash 401k and the value of the home, that's where almost all the wealth is concentrated. There's not a lot of wealth that is in a taxable account with a step up in basis, right? Most of the step up in basis is going to come in a form of real estate. Mm-hmm. So when the Secure Act 2.0 came out, what it basically did was said the stretch IRA is now dead for Gen 2 or Gen 3. You can't stretch it. In other words,
for your lifetime.
For your lifetime. In other words, you inherit that IRA, all the money has to come out within a 10-year period. So,
so what he's talking about is your TSP, your IRA, all of that stuff that your parents may have that they may give to you, or you the beneficiary of. Well, instead of it, you've been able to stretch it out over the lifetime of your life, you have to stretch it out over 10 years. And what he's going to go on to talk about, if you're in your peak years between 35 to 50 of making the most money, right? Probably by the time you're 50, you're making the most money that you ever made, right? And on top of that, you got this other money that's coming in to you as well. Again, what does that look like tax implication wise? This is where, again, that step up in basis helps you out for that. All right, let's go.
To a article that Dave Ramsey wrote, the average age of people who inherit money is 51 years old.
Mm-hmm. So that's pretty young.
What does that mean? What does that mean? That means the people that are going to inherit these big IRAs and 401ks that are going to be forced to get all that money out within a 10-year period are in their peak earning years, bud. Mm-hmm. They're in their peak earning years, and they're likely already in the upper tax brackets. So that means that every dollar that comes out of those IRAs is now going to be taxed at the highest tax bracket there is.
And you think the government doesn't know that?
Absolutely, they know that. That's why when Secure Act 2.0 came out, our good friend Ed Slott said, if it says secure, hold on to your wallet, because it's anything but what the actual acronym of it is.
And Ed's usually right, and he is in this case as well.
Yeah. So this is even a bigger reason, in my opinion, Bud, for the baby boomer generation to talk to their children about the retirement assets that they have. This is a bigger reason for the baby boomer generation to do long-term forward-looking tax planning, because as I've said many, many times, as long as we live in the United States and either have money or make money, taxes are going to be a fact of our life. And those taxes are also going to be a fact of the next generation's life when that great wealth transfer happens. So the question that everybody should be asking themselves is, how do I get the money out of that retirement account in the least taxing way possible, both during my lifetime and during the great wealth transfer?
All right. So what he's also saying is, and I said it's a Gen X, but it could reach others as well too, is how are you going to transfer assets, and how are you going to transfer those accounts to those that are that you're leaving behind? What does that look like? What does insurance look like? So some of you may have insurance on yourself, and it may be $3,000, it may be $4,000, it may be $5,000, it may be $100,000, it may be $10,000, it may be a million. What does that look like? What does it look like for you to have something set up where, one, they don't get all that money at one time, or what does it look like where they don't get where that money goes into some type of entity? Or what does that look like where that money goes into some type of controlled way where you can give them what they need? What does that look like? Right? And those are things you have to think about. Hold on one second. See who's at the door. Hold on. All right. So I hope that makes sense. Let's get back to it.
Right. And then part of that planning is when we bring the CPAs to get an accurate accounting in terms of what that cost is going to be and when.
Yeah.
Because the 10 years, you can either take it out in the first year 100% or in the last year 100%, but anything that's in between that. So,
well, that depends on the age of the person when they died. So there's another whole thing that the Secure Act 2.0 did, right? It says that if the person that is passing the money, so the person that owns the IRA now, dies after their required beginning date, which is April 1st of the year following the year they turn 73, okay, then if they die after that, then the beneficiary must take money out every year, and it has to be completely emptied by 10 years. If they die before that date, they can wait and defer it all the way to 10 years. And by the way, that also applies to Roth IRAs and 401ks. It's all retirement accounts.
Yeah. The only benefit of the Roth is there's no taxation on the distribution, of course. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're going to inherit Roth money, if you can delay it all the way. Oh, wait a minute. In the Roth money, there is no required beginning date. So always on the Roth, you can, that beneficiary can always allow that tax-free accumulation for 10 years.
Right. That's good. Yep.
Yeah.
So you hear that on the Roth side, you can delay that. You don't have to take out that RMD or that required money. You can delay it for 10 years, so it'll grow in that 10-year span. So just let it sit there and grow if it's Roth. Not if it's pre-tax, if it's Roth. So that's why they're always saying, hey, the mega backdoor and the backdoor IRA is to get that money and, so you can backdoor it and put money up and also stack up your Roth side as well too, right? Yeah, I pulled up some shows and I did a show on living on dividends and so forth as well. Yeah, I saw the new tax bill floating. I have not read it myself. I've been seeing shows on it. I like to read it myself. I've been following that very closely on the new tax bill. I just haven't peeled apart the onion on it and read it myself, but I've been looking at other ones. You said, how do I lower my tax liability is the real question. Also making sure your heirs don't get a huge tax bill as well. Correct. And that's what this show is about. So let's continue.
Yeah, because there's no required beginning date. I almost missed that. But, that's why when we're working with people who are at retirement, nearing retirement, in retirement, whatever it is, or even younger, and we're building that financial plan, we're looking at the wealth that you will have when you retire. And then based on your spending patterns, what's the likely wealth going to be when you pass money to the next generation? And that's where the tax planning really comes in, bud. That's where
I'm pause right there because I want to say this. Not only do y'all need to be looking out for the tax shelters and so forth, but you now need to be writing down where are all these accounts at? What's the username and passwords to them? How do you get in them? Who is your wealth planner? Who is the insurance person that you've been talking to? Where are the policies at? So in case you have to go and get somebody buried, you can utilize the policy itself, or you can at least go turn in and claim the actual inheritance and so forth. Those things you all need to be doing, right? You need to do all of that. And I wouldn't say just the original copy, make duplicate copies. Here's another one too that I think goes missed too is the person that's passing away or whatnot. You should also have multiple. I don't say multiple, but at least have their birth certificate and their death certificate. You ask me why you want to have a birth certificate? Nostalgia. Just because, and on the death certificate, as well too, and on the birth certificate, at least let you know who the parents were. Like I never knew my grandmother's parents; they were dead by the time I was born, so I never knew their name. I never met them. Right? My grandmother was old. And my grandmother was old, 1911. So uh, most definitely her parents was gone. But again, these are things that I'm talking about that you get from those certificates and so forth, right? So let me get back to it.
It comes in and says, okay, we can either pay a little bit of taxes now by doing, let's say in this example, a Roth conversion, or we can pay, a lot of money in taxes as the money transfers to the next generation. And that's just that again, that's why these family meetings are so critical.
When you get into the family meeting and now they understand tax ramifications, they're stepping up into our world, which is, yeah, you better understand what the net benefit's going to be associated with all this money that you might be inheriting. And how do I avoid that? Because that's legally, of course.
Well, so on a prior show, that Corey Holstein, CPA here at Modern Wealth, Director of Tax, and then Logan DeGrave, one of our CFPs, they did a show on retiring with $2 million. And they talk about how it's not just important how much you make, it's how much you keep. And
So I'm gonna stop right there. That's one of the most important parts I want to talk about. He said it's not about how much you make, it's how much you keep, but it's also how much you invest. Right? You can keep all the money you want inside of a bank account, but if that bank account is not actively making your money work, you are losing money. Okay, you need to have it actively making it work for you, right? Making money while you're asleep. I'm not saying go throw it in the stock market. You can easily throw it in some type of high yield savings account, a CD, or whatever the case may be, a bond, a muni bond, or whatever, a mutual fund, whatever. But I'm just saying, don't get caught up with saving money and it's not working money. Does that make sense? It's got to work. You got to put it to work. And the more you put it to work, the less you have to work for retirement. That's 1 year off. You know what I mean? Like, how can you get 1 year off for retirement? Put in the chat, what is your retirement age? I'm just curious. Is what everybody retirement age is. I've been asking questions all week about people retirement age, and so far I've been seeing between 62 to 66. But what's your retirement age? What is your retirement age?
the focus is there's two things that can take away your wealth: bad investments or no tax planning, right?
Right.
And taxes happen to be the number one eroder of wealth that faces people in retirement. And so having that CPA to actually do that forward-looking tax planning is important.
Yeah, in family meetings that I've conducted or we have conducted, I think the children, who are adults, by the way, are quite surprised the fact that there really is some serious planning that has to be done in order to mitigate as much of Uncle Sam's tax as possible.
Yeah, and I've done a lot of family meetings as well, and it's interesting. It's an interesting dynamic, and most of the time, the adult children are saying, "Why don't you guys spend some more money? Right? We've done a good job of saving. We're going to be okay for retirement. Why don't you guys enjoy what you've done? Why don't you spend some more money?" And if you don't have that conversation, you wind up thinking, well, this is for my kids or for my grandkids. I'll give you a crazy story. And this is a lady who was the matriarch of now what is a third generation of people that I'm working with, and soon to be a fourth generation. So this lady, she had to go into one of the continuing care communities, and
That's another thing. How many people here have a CPA or a wealth planner that they're working with and their family has worked with? And I kind of brought this up to D and a couple of other people. I think our generation, Gen X generation, is probably one of the first generations to actually receive an inheritance as Black people. I'm not saying that all, but I know there are some families that had land in the South and had land and so forth or whatnot, and they received that. But it's not a whole lot. It's not a whole lot, right? Um, but how many of y'all actually have actually do you have term life insurance policy? Do you have a whole life policy? Do you have insurance outside of your job? Have you looked at insurance outside of your job? Are you Are you investing in your 401k, your IRA? Are you maxing it out? Have you looked into what does retirement look like for you? Everybody works to pay off a house and pay off a car. And that's their, and then when they get there, they're like, okay, I got in here, now what? Right? That's what everybody goes. That's what everybody's, eventually looking to do, right? Is have a house and a car paid off. You said, I'm not retiring. I will be self-employed or a consultant. I saw some 50 in there. I retire when I can't perform the duties of the position. I have so many people retire too early and then go right back to work. I have a CPA and he preps my taxes, but I need a wealth financial planner. Yep. Yes, in the African immigrant community, they have a CPA, but it's not everyone. Yep. Term. Like anytime there's a CPA at an African church, everyone makes their rounds. Yep. And it's just, I'm just curious just to see, are you guys actually thinking about these things and getting yourself prepped to do these things and handle it and teach others, right? Teach others about these different things, like these 401ks, the IRAs, the 403s, the 1031 exchanges, the land appreciation, depreciation, appreciation of assets, tax implications, all these things. These are all things that we can all be, mindful of, that we can do ourselves in terms of educating family members, educating friends, and so forth. All right, let me get back over here.
Was 94 years old, and I was talking to her one day, and she sounded like she was really confused. And I said, Marjorie, what's happening? And she goes, well, I can't see very well. And I'm like, where are your glasses? She says, I broke my glasses. And I said, well, have you told your son? I'm sure he'd be happy to take you to get a new pair of glasses. She goes, well, I really don't want to spend money on new glasses. That money's going to be for my kids. Right. Now, here she was, 94 years old. All of her kids were actually already retired. Grandchild is my age. And so I called her son and I told him what was going on. And so he went and got her and, took her to buy a pair of glasses. But that mentality of this money is for my kids or it's for my next generation. If you don't talk to your kids about it, how do you know that where they are financially?
Yeah. And it's partially boomers and it's partially the generation before the boomers, that have that mentality. Why? Because they went through a world war. They understand how tough times can be. They understand that savings money is a requirement if you want to actually have a life at all.
Yeah.
And so all these are things, these are experiences, aren't they? And
So put a 1 in the chat. Just curious. If your mother received an inheritance, or your father, if either one of your parents received an inheritance, put a 1 in the chat. If they didn't, put a 2 in the chat.
the experiences are passed on to the next generation because we haven't had a world war. God forbid we ever do again. But sometimes that needs to be shared. But it's certainly you can understand why people behave the way they do when it comes to money.
Right. Now I can tell you another crazy thing. So had an individual, he passed away. Now he wasn't a client of mine, but he happened to be related to one of my clients, and his daughter at the age of 18 inherited about $2 million. Right now, there was a trust put in place that was worded to be pretty strict, but the attorney that wound up as the trustee of the trust was not very strict. And so one of the first things that this young lady wanted to do was she wanted Super Bowl tickets to go watch the Kansas City Chiefs. And so the trustee allowed $24,000 to come out of the trust so that this young lady could take a friend of hers to the Super Bowl. And it goes on, Bud. And by the time this gal is in her mid-20s, she's got less than half of that money left.
Yeah, that's a shame. That's an interesting story, though, isn't it? Because when you look at that and ask the question, take the position.
And that's a hard one right there. Repeat the question. How many people have had their parents were left in inheritance. So far, we got 2 1s, but more 2s than 1s. So, in other words, did your mom and dad get left an inheritance? Right? Because we're talking about, depending on the age here, we're talking about the 1900s, the early 1900s, not the mid. Yeah, I don't like I said. I think we are now your current mother and father are the first generation for black people to be able to leave something behind for us and so forth and so on. Now, let's be clear. The way the inheritance works is usually dies by the third generation. So Gen X millennial receives an inheritance. Gen X millennial children receives an inheritance, and then those children receives an inheritance, and then it stops. That's usually how it works. It says by the time the third generation comes around, it stops. Land counts, absolutely. It's an inheritance. Land and money counts. Yes, yes, it's an asset.
The benefactor and say, why do I have to address this with some other party as to how much money I want to take with that? But that was done for a reason by the people that actually made the money to begin with.
Yes.
And so the question is, can you get rid of a trustee?
It depends on how the trust is written. It does. Some trustees can be removed. Some can be self-trustees. This young lady at the age of 21 could be a self-trustee. So, she was able to take control and then do whatever she wanted. Now, I've seen enough of this happen, Bud, and I know you have too, that my wife and I most recently updated our trust. And in the update of the trust, like I said earlier, my kids are 24 to 34. And God forbid something happens and my wife and I are no longer here for, like 25, 30 years or longer.
Mm-hmm.
But we wrote into the trust that in case something happens to us, that there will be a new trust that will be established for each of our 5 children. And they will only be allowed to take 3% per year out of that trust
Until a certain age.
until they reach age 50.
Okay.
And in order to get the 3% out each year, they have to be gainfully employed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So they can't just say, hey, I'm getting income over here. I don't have to work anymore. In order to get that, they got to work.
Yeah.
And I figure by age 50, hopefully they're responsible enough to do.
I like that idea. I like a trust to set up another trust after, something happens. That's pretty cool. All right. So I think you guys got the gist on that one. So this one I wanted to bring up. This is a young lady who has 22 rentals, but she regrets it. And the why. So everybody tells you go into real estate, collect these assets, do all these things. But again, every time you do it, you need to have an exit strategy and a why. And an exit strategy may be 10 years from now, it may be 5 months from now, maybe whatever. But what does that look like? Can you maintain it, and what does your strategy look like? Aaron Hernandez, daughter's trust is being disputed by the mom, but the trustee is saying she's spending it too much. I'm not surprised.
No units in only 18 months, and now I regret it. Just to show you, here's a 2-unit property I own. Here's another one that's a 6-unit apartment building. And here's another one. And here's another one. And there's even more properties, but I'm done driving around wasting my gas, and I feel you guys understand. I thought owning rental properties would be a great source of income, but boy, was I wrong. Most real estate investors teach about buying rental properties, rehabbing them, renting them out to tenants, and then refinancing them with a bank just to only cash flow $300 per month. And that $300 per month may sound like a small amount, but when you have a lot of units, that amount adds up. For the 22 units that I own with my business partner, we roughly cash flow on an average of $600 per month, and that's per unit. And on a monthly basis, that comes to $13,200. And on an annual basis, each year, that comes to $158,400. And that's a big cash flow amount just for only owning 22 units. Now that we talked about the money side.
All right, so let's pause right there. Let's talk about this, and I'll give you this, and you guys can watch the rest of this if you want to. I just want to talk about it real quick. I want to set the scenario up. So let's talk about it. So okay, she's whatever age. Let's say you're whatever age. You got 22 rental properties, this, that, and the other. Something happens to you. Tragically, you pass on. You don't have a business partner. You have 22 rentals that are out there that you own, and you did not set up a will. You did not set up some type of trust. They're not in some LLC. What happens to the property? What do you do? Who inherits this? Let's say she was married, but only her name is on on that property. Maybe she's the only one on that property. Yes, again, when we're talking about this, I'm just setting a scenario that your your life right now matters and what you do in it matters. So go take care of those things as if. So meaning if you got a house right now, a car right now, what have you, and you got some, you're married, make sure that person knows everything. And this goes out for everyone that's screaming, I wanna he's a good man, Savannah, and everyone's screaming, I want to be a stay-at-home wife. This happens all the time. Man go make the money, man go buy the house. Man may pass away. Do you think the wife gets the house? Do you think the wife gets the house? His name is on the loan. His name is on the deed. What happens to the wife? Because he's a good man, Savannah. Correct. Not unless she's on the deed. So she has 22 properties. Hopefully, she got other people on the deed or what have you, so they can maintain that or what have you. Maybe it's in a trust. Who knows? Whatever the case may be. But I'm simply saying, just because he paid the bills and you not on the deed, he's setting you up. She's setting you up if she got a house and you ain't on the deed, fellas. I'm just saying. Let's talk about it from a different way. Hold on. Let's talk about it from this way. You guys love each other. Oh, baby, you're so wonderful. You're so beautiful. I love you. I love you. I love you. Cool. You and your significant other, man, woman, whatever it is, move in together. Oh, precious love, precious love. Oh, wonderful, precious love. And let's just say y'all move in together and the apartment is in his name because you're like, I'm moving in his place, because that's what my man. I'm stick beside him. That's mine. I'm gonna stick beside him. You move in. He been paying rent. He been paying all these bills. You like, girl, I don't do nothing. My man. He don't make it home from work one day. My man. Y'all are not married. His name is on the apartment. What do you think happens to her? What do you think happens to her? Can she still stay in that apartment? If her name ain't on the deed, if her name ain't on the rental agreement, does she inherit anything from him? Cause cause he a good man, Savannah. Somebody tell me she a pedestrian. She SOL. Yeah, yeah. All right, let's even get even further. Let's talk about, hey, my man, my man, my man. We boyfriend, girlfriend. We decided we're not gonna get married. I move into his place. He was married before. He becomes, let's say, something happened to him and they need somebody to come in and make a decision. He's the only child. He's still married to the last. He may still be married to the last lady. Guess who don't get no say so? Cohabitation agreements do exist. But how many people you know go out and get cohabitation agreements? Most people do not go out and get cohabitation agreements. They just roll on in. They just go live on. Yeah, it. All of this matters. All of this matters. As much as people don't want to talk about it, it matters. His loyal companion doesn't get anything. This, in this instance, a good example of this was Barry White. Barry White was Barry White. Barry White had a girlfriend for 20 years. They lived together. Boo, 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 boo. They traveling. You know, baby, I couldn't help myself if I wanted to. Right? She over there flying, laying on white leather sofas, furs. For 20 years, she was his boo. My boo. He passed away. Who got it? That ex-wife. She wasn't taking out for stuff. And pull it up so y'all can see. And pull it up right here. So we can all have a conversation about it. All right, right here. It says Barry White, second wife, Glodine White, inherited his $20 million estate because he never updated his will after their separation. His longtime girlfriend, Catherine, who was not legally recognized as a wife, received nothing. Sued for a share of the estate but lost her case. The Big Glow got it all. Big Glow got it all. Glow Dean was on the scene. Big Glow got it all. Because he never updated his will. Right? And Barry White, Glodine White, as Barry White's legal wife at the time of his death, Glodine inherited his estate because he had not updated his will, but he a good man, Savannah. Catherine Barry White, long-term girlfriend, who was not his legal right, received nothing from the estate. Barry White children were also excluded from their inheritance due to the outdated will and lack of proper estate planning. And they probably from the first wife. Second wife, Big Glow, got it all. Big Glow was like, let me check this paperwork, baby boy. Give it up. Ain't no use. I couldn't help myself if I wanted to. Big Glow was like, got that? The will, I got the will. Get him, Glow. Right? This case highlights the importance of updating estate plans after major life changes such as separation or divorce to ensure assets are distributed according to one wishes, according to the millennial state estate planning. Right? Catherine's legal challenge to the will, including a DNA test to prove paternity, failed. Now let's clear that up too. She said she had a baby by this is why she was suing. She said she had a baby by Barry White and couldn't find out it wasn't his baby either. So Big Old Glow got it all. It is the same with Lou Rawls. I don't know if y'all remember that. So let's pull this up. Let's see. So Lou Rawls, his death was in 2006. There was dispute regarding the management of his estate and the distribution of his assets. His widow, Nina Rawls, claimed that Paradise Records owed her and the estate $13 million for digital sales of his music. Additionally, there were reports of a family feud and disagreements. So let's go over here. Let me see if I can also pull this up too. Let me so y'all can crack up. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see if this brings it up. Because the phone call that Lou Rawls' current wife, had with the children, she straight up told them in the call, "Y'all ain't getting shit." That's exactly what she said. Y'all ain't getting nothing. I literally like that. Let me see if I can find it. It's so old though. Let me see if I can find it. Let me see videos. No, they don't have it out here no more. I had to dig. I'm gonna have to dig deep for that call. I remember that because that was big time news about that call. So basically, the children didn't get anything. The children of Lou Rawls didn't get anything, and that's what the problem was. Yeah, yeah. Oh, is this the audio? Yeah, this is the. Let me see. I think I might have found it. I'm looking for a link. Somebody was like, "Oh, you can find the audio here." Let's see. I mean, look and see. Lou Rawls' wife cusses out stepdaughter. Let's see. We can find it. You know, I'm gonna try to find it. Teddy Pendergrass had the same thing. That's a shame. Let me see if they talk about it in here in the video. Let me see. I just want to see if they got the audio in here. Allegations, media downplayed the wedding after the assault and the family feud, Lou Rawls' funeral. Let me see if they have if they yeah, his son was in jail. Yeah, all right. So hold on. No, I'm pulling it over.
Kept him away from Nina,
All right, so here, let's a little bit
took
of it.
Nina's side. Luana and Kendra became enemies.
Hold on, let me back up. So this is part of it. This is the wedding after the assault. Lou Rawls' story is crazy. So let me see. Okay, she'll pick up and start playing here. It's spinning.
Stars came to honor Rawls, including Stevie Wonder, Della Reese, Joan Baez, Andre Crouch, and Etta James. But behind the scenes, things were not peaceful. Nina left a hateful message on Luana's phone. This message was later played in court. In the message, Nina insulted Luana and even threatened to destroy her father financially. Now, this message was in danger of becoming public. People expected it to appear on radio shows and in the tabloids. This only made the situation worse. Even though Nina and Luana were fighting, Nina still invited Luana to the funeral. But she did not want Luana to sit with the family. Nina even filed a police complaint against Luana. She accused her of taking her father's things. The fight over Rawls' funeral was not just between Nina and Luana. Another daughter, Kendra, took Nina's side. Luana and Kendra became enemies. Meanwhile, Rawls' son, Lou Jr., was in jail, so he could not be part of the dispute. This made things even more complicated. Another disagreement came up about Rawls' final wishes. Nina said she was following his will and burying him. But Luana and some of Rawls' friends said he wanted to be cremated. Nobody could agree on what Rawls truly wanted. This only added more drama to an already difficult situation. Before Rawls died, things between him and Nina had been very bad. In November, they had a big fight. After that, Luana took Rawls and kept him away from Nina. Some people said Nina had kicked Rawls out, while others said Luana was trying to protect him. It was unclear what really happened. During this time, Nina and Rawls were about to get their marriage annulled. They even went to court in December to talk about it. Days before Rawls passed away, he got a message to Nina through a doctor. Nina said they reunited, and he died with her by his side.
And that's some bullshit.
So said she invited Luana to see her father one last time, but Luana refused to come. This became another point of disagreement between them. One side said Nina was lying. The other side said Luana was in the wrong. There was no peace between them. The whole situation became a battle of words. It was one person's story against the others. Friends of Luana said Nina was a liar. They even called her a psychopath. They claimed they had proof that she was dangerous. But Nina went ahead with the funeral as planned. She said she regretted leaving the hateful phone message. Now that it might be made public, she knew it would not look good. There was also a fight over money. Nina said Rawls' estate was worth less than $1 million. She claimed all of his children were taken care of in his will. But Luana and others did not believe that. They thought Nina was trying to control everything. The truth would only come out once the will was officially filed in court. So, the folks say it was around 1963 when Lou met Lana. And let me tell you, the way they got together was something else. People called it scandalous, and they weren't lying. See, Lana was dating this club owner named Ralph. One day, Ralph came up with an idea. He thought, let me do something special for Lana's birthday.
Listen, ain't nothing messy like a boomer. Nothing messy like a boomer. I'm telling you, like if you go out and you find this phone call, that message that Nina left to that to his child. If you find that, oh my goodness, you'll be like, girl, what you own? Let me see, Nina Ross. What did it say her net worth was? It says Nina Ross estimated in a court affidavit that the company they formed generates about $2 million profits in a year. Yeah. Let me see if I can. I can't. I don't see it anywhere. That ain't it. If I find it, I'll pull it. I'll post it on the community wall. It's time for me to do an update on the community wall. I just thought it was interesting. I thought it was interesting. All right, folks. I think you all got the gist. Go get your update on your will or your trust. If you got some X's out there that you got on something, get rid of them. If you know you don't like them, don't keep them. you silly Dion talking about Lou Lana, me Lou Anna. Yee. You know how they do. You know how they do with these names. My mom friend name was Frederica. Her daddy name was Fred. They put the Drika on the Frederica, but they called her Fred for short. Yeah, yep. Trust, insurance, tax shelters, those 401ks, those IRAs, everything. Make sure you got beneficiaries across. Make sure you got it across. Hey, if you don't do nothing today before you leave your house and go somewhere, just write a will out. Just take 15 minutes and write something down and email it to somebody so that way somebody got something for you. Like if you ain't got nothing, you at least got that. Right. And trust me, I'm guilty of it as well too. I'm working on my paperwork right now. Right now. I be having Dion coming here. What that no read that what you think they say? What you think they say now? Yeah, take a video, do something, right? Do something. Other thing is, Notary World, so I can help you draft your will. Notary World for the plug. Notary World, where you at though? Where you at though? Yep. Let me pull that up. There are plenty of will templates out there. Um, this another thing too. I forgot to say about this about the power of attorney. For your power of attorney, for your power, you don't have to do this with your healthcare power of attorney, but for the power of attorney, you also have to once you get it, the notary will come out. Everybody, you'll have a witness. They'll sign it, right? And it was so funny because when we was doing it for my mom, my aunt was like, "You sure you want to do this?" She was like, "Get out of here! I'm trying to get my affairs in order, so Tameika conduct her work. Get out of here." Uh, it's like, get out of the way. We was like, we got it. We're gonna take care of it. We're gonna do what we need to do, right? Um, Families have fear. And it's it's okay. I get it, but you gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta move around that fear. You gotta stay of sound mind. Those of you that know you're emotional and you can't take care of stuff and you ain't really good at that, you're gonna have to knuckle up, buttercup. You on the clock, like they say on the sports channel, on the clock. But anyway, long story short, with the power of attorney, you still have to go file it at the court for that power of attorney. You still gotta go file that at the county. It has to be filed. All right. So just a FYI on that. You said there are some banks that have partnership with companies to help you create your will too. Yep. You said, Tam, I didn't get flow boated. I don't know what you mean by that. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Notary World says she is in Los Angeles, so you're out in LA. You know, check it out. Make sure y'all keep up with what's going on in your own estates. Another big thing too, while I'm thinking about it too, is um a lot of you have probably went outside and um set up your insurance and so forth and so on. But one thing you have you have not told people is how you want to be buried. Cremation, a tree, a star, feed you to the fish, whatever. Put that all in there. Don't have people second guessing what it is that you want to do. You know, if is there a song that you like, of photographs, go make some memories. Those that don't have pictures, go make some memories. Seven Seas, what's going on from Barcelona? Thank you. Right, go make some memories today. Go outside and take a picture of yourself so somebody got an updated photo of you. The last thing you want to do is be an avatar on your on your obituary. Go take a photo. I don't care. Just go take a photo of yourself. Tell people what photo you want to use. They ain't gotta always. You ain't gotta have the most current photo of yourself. You can go get you can be glammed up. Yo, you can use your 1996 Freaknik pic. Tell them to use your 99 2000 pic. That's how you remember you. That's how you want them to see you. That's how you want them to see you. This your this your day. This your day. Right? Put out there how you want to go out. Don't let people dictate how you go out. As a sidebar, as a side note, the big ongoing thing with my mom was there was used to talk about her wig used to be crooked at the office, and one of her coworkers was like, "They got your red white, Miss Banks. It ain't crooked today." So it was on straight. So don't let people have you sitting up there casket short with your wig crooked, right? You know, do something. Have them do something with yourself. Tell them what you want, right? And that's same for you fellas. You don't want to be sitting up there in the casket looking crusty and dusty. Tell them to put some lotion on you. Get your good suit on. At least have a suit, fellas. Have a suit or whatever your favorite outfit is. I know some of y'all want to be buried in your Tims. Oh, who? Oh, me. Right? Just don't get buried in a wife beater. All right. I appreciate y'all. I hope y'all had fun today. Hope you got some lessons learned. I ain't get to my AI stuff, man. I got a whole link. I got a whole IPOs. We're gonna talk about some system design, the whole nine. I may bring back my Monday show so we could talk about it. And that's really what that fits into. A mess fitted with the crispy Tims. Nah, son, nah, B. Nah, son, nah, B. Yeah, I got a whole AI. I was gonna talk about Gen X and AI. What does that look like for our generation? I'll talk about that next week. Gen X and AI. um, Things that Gen X can do to make money off of AI, not just freelancing and so forth and so on. How Gen X can use this in the stock market, how Gen X can use AI and setting up your estate, AI and setting up your long term plan, AI and setting up your retirement, and how to use AI in retirement. What does that look at? How to make money? I would talk about all that. I had a whole show planned out for that. We just didn't get a chance to transition over into that. But this will be next week will be a continuation of inheritance of X, Y, and Z, but it's going to be more related on how to use technology for it with your inheritance, how to use those RMDs, those requirement distributions that you got to take out, and use AI to help you make money on that. So we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. All right, y'all have fun. Go out today, make you a picture. Don't be casket sharp or avatar. See you later.